What's going on, everybody? It's me, Ben, here. I am live on YouTube and on Facebook, and on YouTube on my channel, Ben Cornet 9015, and also on Facebook in the Ben Zone. How is everybody doing tonight? Well, I would be doing a lot better if my team would have won this game today. And actually, I would have been doing a lot better if this team would have won the last few games. But be that as it may, the Bucs are here and we're second place in the division. Somehow, some way, we still have a chance to win that division next week against the Carolina Panthers, who, by the way, could have won the division today, and because we lost, but they didn't get the job done against Seattle. They lost 27-10. We lost 20-17 to a Miami Dolphins team who, let's face it, they're playing a backup quarterback in Quinn Ewers, which, by the way, the defense of the Bucs today actually made Quinn Ewers look like Dan Marino. Yeah, it was that bad. At least Carolina lost to one of the best teams in the NFL, who, by the way, early on, if you can believe it or not, because it's been such a long time, that we beat Seattle. And, it felt like we did that 4 or 5 years ago because it's been that long. But this isn't a have at it episode. It might as well be, but I'm just saying this is just more of a getting this off my chest kind of deal. I'm not one of those fans that's gonna say, "Oh, we gotta fire the coach. We gotta fire Todd," "Do it now. Do it now." Well, it's not gonna happen now. Right, first of all, if you've been a Bucks fan for a long time, I'm sure a lot of people have, the Glazers don't fire people during the season, and why would they fire somebody with 1 game to go when they still have an opportunity to win the division? Yes, as bad as it is, and yes, we are currently 7-9 right now. The Bucks can still win this division at a incredible 8-9 record. Um, today was just one of those games where maybe I was just overconfident. Maybe I thought, oh, we should beat Miami. You know, but there seems to be a lot of problems right now with this team, and I'm not going to say everybody on that team, but there's a good majority of those players that have tuned out Todd Bowles. They have. You could just see it. They're not trying. They're not going out there making plays. I mean, the missed tackles. I mean, you can count how many missed tackles they had. It took you more than 2 hands to count how many tackles they missed today. Um, you know, again, the defense, no pass rush, not getting to the quarterback. When's the last time we had a game where we had more than like 2 sacks in a game? Yeah, Diaby got 1 today, which was good. But consistently, we were not putting a lot of pressure on Quinn Ewers. The majority of his passes, he had all day to throw. And it's been like this pretty much all year with this team. And, now, call it like it is. Baker Mayfield did not have a good game today. He had 2 interceptions. One of them underthrew Jalen McMillan on a deep route. It was a good play call, by the way, but Baker didn't put enough air under it. Got picked off. Now another interception, which I believe he's trying to get to Evans, either Evans or Godwin. I forget who it was. The defender did make a good play on it. He instinctively turned back to his other side, and Baker threw it that direction and made the interception. But those 2 interceptions were huge. And on top of that, Chase McLaughlin got a field goal blocked. Those are 3 points right there. That could have been the tie in the game. Could have went to overtime, perhaps. We don't know. But this is just one of these things where today it just seemed like after the first play, and I thought, they had the opening drive touchdown after the 3 and out for Miami. Bucks, you know, get a touchdown. It's like, great. Perfect. Godwin with the touchdown. 7-0. All right. It's looking good. Well, then the rest of the game happens. So, and we just could never recover. And, we even seen, Bucky Irvin on the sidelines arguing and Tristan Wirfs trying to calm him down. I mean, this team is right now, they're just, you know, looking for answers. They're frustrated, they're lost. Um, it's just right now, it's like, do you really trust this team? Even if they get into the playoffs, are they going to do anything? Because we're going to be the 4th seed no matter what if we win this game next week. Oh, and I didn't even know that this just came to my attention. I did not know until a couple hours ago that the Atlanta Falcons could also decide the NFC South. Well, wait a minute. The Falcons are eliminated, right? Well, yes. But being that the Bucs could have took care of business on Thursday night, that big collapse that we had, the 28-14 lead, Atlanta coming back thanks to who, the guy that always is in our heads, Kirk Cousins, Mr. Buckbeater. Now Atlanta can win their last 2 games, and they would be 8-9 as well. And if the Bucs beat the Panthers, they would be 8-9 as well. But the tiebreaker goes to Carolina based on divisional records. Yeah, it's true. Because Carolina's 3-2 in the division right now. Yep. So, wouldn't it be so Buccaneer-like to have that happen if Atlanta won their last 2 games and somehow we won, but we would still not win the division because of the tiebreakers? And it would be Carolina still winning. It would be so Tampa Bay Bucks. It'd be a cruel irony. I mean, Atlanta came back on us Thursday Night Football a couple weeks ago, and now they would almost cost us. They pretty much cost us the postseason. Now, they don't play till tomorrow night. They play the Rams in Atlanta, and the Rams have a lot to play for because I can see right now on my TV, the Niners are playing for that number 1 seed. So is the Rams. So they got a lot to play for as well. They want to try and keep pace to get that number 1 seed. So a lot at stake here. And now I don't think Atlanta's going to beat the Rams, but you never know. You just never know. And but we put ourselves in this position. That's it. Bottom line. The Bucs put themselves in this position. They haven't been the same since the bye week. And what's really ironic is that the Bucs now are pretty much healthy. Well, except for this week, because we didn't have Tristan Wirfs, which turned out to be huge. Ben, I don't want to screw up his last name. Okachua, I guess his last name is. He tried, but he's no Tristan Wirfs. And you could tell that had an effect on Baker today. His blind side wasn't getting protected as much. You're asking a backup, coming from the practice squad to try and, protect Baker's blind side. And he did pretty good, but, and that's another thing. The offensive line wasn't really good today. I mean, Grant Barton struggled. You could tell you're missing Cody Mock big time. Graham's really trying hard at center, but I really think you got to move him to guard once Cody Mock gets back and healthy. Next year, Bredesen being out as well. That offensive line needs to get healthy, and putting Graham Barton back into right guard, I think, would be the best thing for this team. And for him too. I mean, he's trying at center, but he's And he could play the position, but it's just not working right now. So, oh man, we got some comments in this section. I went on late because I didn't. But let's see, we got Tampa Bay Rays fan 2008. Thanks for tuning in, man. How you doing tonight? Nobody wants to win the NFC South. Yeah, it seems like it. Um, you know, it's a rotten division. That defense held the Dolphins to 20, and still the offense can't do squat. Yeah. And what's funny is, the offense was carrying this bad defense. The defense has been bad all year. It hasn't been great all year. Let's just be honest. It hasn't been great. And the offense for the first several weeks was covering up the defense. They were bailing the defense out in a lot of games. That Jets game, look how horrible that team is. We barely got by the Jets. We had to score like 30-something points or 29 points. It's just one example. Now the offense not playing as well. Can't bail the defense out. You could say what you want holding the defense to 20 points, but this is the Miami Dolphins who don't have Tua. They don't have Tyreek Hill. They don't have a lot of their players playing. And yet, giving up 20 points to the Dolphins against that offense right now with a lot of missed players, they shouldn't be giving up 10 points, let alone 20. So I'm not going to celebrate the Bucs defense holding up 20 points against a team that really what they have right now, other than Achan as their best offensive player, shouldn't be scoring more than 10 points. So that's just my opinion. Baker was horrible last week too. Yeah, he was. Yeah, didn't play well. Didn't play well today. Don't forget the Saints are creeping in. Yeah. I mean, the Saints been playing good down the stretch. Maybe they got something with Tyler Shook. I give the Saints credit. I hate them, but I give them credit. They're playing hard for Kellen Moore. They got some good momentum going into next year. They just got to hit on their draft picks. Tyler Shook is better than Baker Mayfield right now. Yeah, I can't argue that. I just said it. Tyler's playing good. They got nothing to lose too. This is evaluation time. Give Kellen Moore a lot of credit. He's got that team playing hard every week. They're not going down without a fight. They had quite a game though against Tennessee from what I saw on the scoreboard. It's like 34-28, something like that. So they got into it with the Titans today. Pretty interesting there. Let's see. Blackie, thanks for tuning in. Blackie, how you doing tonight? Sup, Ben Cornett. Hope you had a great Christmas, sir. I did. Thank you. Do you have a good Christmas, Blackie? I hope you did as well. Playing the way we are played, do we deserve to win the division? No, but somebody's got to win it. So I think the Bucs will win it. They'll beat Carolina, and Atlanta's going to lose to either the Rams or the Saints or both. But again, it's not going to. I don't think it's going to matter much because whoever we play in the postseason is going to be an NFC West team because the Packers are guaranteed the 7th seed. It's coming down between the Rams, Niners, and Seahawks. Any one of those 3 teams. Yeah, we beat the Niners and Seahawks earlier in the year, but they're getting healthier, and I know George Kittle's not playing tonight, but once he's back, he'll be ready to go. And maybe there's rumors that Fred Warner might be ahead of schedule and he could be back. And then you got the Rams who destroyed us in LA week before Thanksgiving. They're playing great. So I don't see the Bucs beating any one of those teams, even Seattle. And Seattle's like only lost 1 game on the road this year, I think. Now it's to the Rams. And that was on a game-winning or a missed field goal at the end of the game. So this team, It doesn't matter. We win the division, great. We're in the playoffs, which don't get me wrong, it's cool. I'm glad we're, you know, in the playoffs again. We'll get to see another game, but I don't expect anything further beyond that. Not with this defense and not with the offense struggling right now. Barton doesn't have support around him at the inside offensive line. Beanie and Jordan Arnett. Well, that too. I mean, again, with Bredesen out, Cody Mock out, um, what are you going to do? I mean, you're playing backups, and yeah, it's not going to help. But I think once Cody Mock gets back next year, you'll have Barton move back to guard, which I think is a better position for him. He's a great run blocker. Playing center, you got to do everything, and it seems like that's really too much for Graham at this point. Because he's also been penalized a lot this year. It's tough. Injuries. Anytime you have injuries on the offensive line, you have to switch spots. That's tough. That's tough for anybody because the offensive line's vital. The trenches are the most important aspect to a football team. If you have injuries on the line, you're going to struggle more times than not. Yeah, sure. I mean, Baker is a scrambling quarterback. He'll stretch plays out, but you can't always rely on that. So the line has to get a lot more healthier for this team. Blackie says Baker needs to go back to culinary school because he ain't baking lately. Yeah. He ain't baking. He ain't cooking. He ain't throwing. He's just been struggling. I mean, and that's another thing. A lot of fans want to blame Baker for the reason why the Bucs have been struggling lately these past couple months. And yes, he does deserve some blame. No doubt about it, especially today, 2 interceptions. But the guy's playing injured. I mean, really, he probably shouldn't be out there, but he's tough as nails. He's playing through a lot of injuries. And yeah, if people want to say, well, we need to have this time to have to talk about Baker and the extension. Well, sure, he's been struggling lately, but I want to remind people, I want to put this in perspective here because it's very important to let people realize what's going on. And with Baker the last few years, this team has won this division winning 10 games only one time, and that was last year. The rest of the time, it's been 9 wins. It's been 8 wins. Imagine having this Bucs team without Baker Mayfield, without good quarterback play. This team would be a lot worse, in my opinion. So sure, we can have the conversation about Baker. Does he deserve a brand new contract or not? Well, it's not looking good lately, but let's remember how bad this team would have been had they not had him. And remember, he doesn't have a great offensive line either. And he's gone through how many coordinators now? Josh Grizzard, which he deserves some blame too. He's not balancing out his offense enough. Today started passing the ball more on first down. Well, the problem was he was doing it too much. Like he did last week when he ran the ball too much on first down. Got to have balance. So blame goes on a lot of people. It doesn't just go on Baker. It doesn't just go on Todd Bowles. Jamel Dean giving up some touchdowns. The missed tackles. I mean, my goodness, Hassan Reddick. I mean, my God, what a terrible signing that was. I mean, he's robbing the bank. $14 million. Not getting shit from him. And also we don't have Kalijah Cansey. Vita Vea can only do so much. Every time I see him on TV, he's always tired, man. getting double teamed. He doesn't have that help in the interior defensive line. The linebackers, like, it breaks my heart, man. Like, Levante, he looks old out there, guys. I mean, he looks like he's in his mid 30s. The guy's trying, but he has no linebacker help. Diaby's been good, but you know, everyone else has not done it. Servase Dennis, he's hit or miss. Sometimes he'll make some plays, sometimes he won't. Antoine Winfield, where's he been? Ever since the Saints game, he's pretty much disappeared. The first Saints game where he had those great defensive plays, it's pretty much disappeared. Benjamin Morrison's a rookie. He's getting better. Jacob Harris is solid. He's getting better, but they need time to develop. So, it's just one of those things. They even benched Jamel Dean in the second half, put Christian Enzian in. That's how bad it's been. So this defense they're not going to win you a game in the postseason. They'll get by Carolina next week. I know, don't look like it, but do I really trust Carolina too? I mean, I don't think they're that great. I mean, Dave Canales is doing a nice job there, but I still think they're a year away. They don't have a lot of playmakers. McMillan's a good receiver, but either way, I mean, whoever comes out of this division, Carolina or the Bucs, they're not beating Seattle. They're not beating the Rams. They're not beating the 49ers. They're going to lose. So it doesn't matter. So I think the Bucs will get by next week. We'll see how it plays out. But let's read some more comments here. Let's go back to Blackie. Says, do you think we try and bring in a veteran center or draft one if we move Barton to guard? No, I do think we do draft another lineman, but Cody Mock's coming back. So he's going to be back at center. Put Barton at guard. Injuries. That's been the key this year on the line. So they still need to draft an offensive lineman. They need more depth there. I would go probably more in the guard position. Maybe go right tackle. With Gradecki, I mean, he's been good, but we need depth. We need a lot of depth there. Roberts is okay. Michael Jordan's okay, but he's a reserve. Feeney, a veteran, but not great. He's a backup for a reason. We need a lot of help. We really do. Also think we need to get a tight end. I like K. Dotton, but we need somebody that can block and be a better playmaker at the tight end. Now, you could say, well, maybe we're not giving him enough touches, but every time I've seen K. Dotton out there, caught a couple passes, he's also turned the ball over at times and gets penalized. So, we need more. We need a better tight end that can block and be a better playmaker. Cade's okay, but he's just not doing it. We could use more help in the tight end spot. Again, Devin Culp's the backup. Payne Durham, he's what he is. He's a 4th, 5th round guy. He's a reserve. Tampa Bay Rays fans spent money at depth in the interior offensive line and get a veteran cheap backup center. Don't have a Band-Aid center. Putting Bredson. Look what happened. Yeah. Again, the injuries. But we got to draft. Develop. So, yeah. Corey, what's up? Throw towel, bad coaching. Okay. Baker Mayfield injured because offensive line, C plus. It's part of it. It's a big part of it. Not getting enough protection, enough time in the pocket. But Baker plays recklessly at times too. He'll make some plays that you just scratch your head and you're like, come on, it's the Brett Favre syndrome. Yeah. I think I missed. And the Saints still in salary cap hell despite of it. Yeah. That's why they got to bank on their draft, bank on their picks. They got to hope that they develop and, and if they get good, get good before they get paid again. Even with the defense allowing 20, the offense should put up 30. Yeah, absolutely. It works both ways. It does. Tampa Bay Rays fan. The offense didn't play well today. So yeah, it works both ways. Team game. Blackie says there's plenty of blame to go around. I agree it's not all on our quarterback, and we have not had a consistent offensive lineup all season. Yeah. But again, our playmakers are healthy now. Evans is out there. Godwin. Evans had a touchdown today. Godwin had a touchdown. Bucky's back. McMillan's back. McMillan plays well. He played okay today. He did have a drop pass. He had a touchdown, but also had a big drop early on in the game, which kind of hurt the Bucs there offensively. But then again, you have so many playmakers, and I guess it was a Jonathan Vilma on the broadcast saying, sometimes it's not always a good thing. I'm paraphrasing what he said, but it's kind of disrupts the rhythm, and it does, because you got to try to establish that, and to do this late in the season, that's tough to do. And this is where Grizzard's going to have to come up with, scheme around all those, those plays here. He's going to have to scheme it up. Try to get plays in that's going to get everybody involved. Not everybody's going to get the ball, and that's up to Grizzard. He's got a, game plan, scheme for this offense. He only has one game left to do it. He's got to do it this week, because we're going to need all the help we can get. And we're going to have to play our best. We got to not turn the ball over. And we got to create turnovers. Something we didn't do today. And we really haven't done the last few games. I think we've only had, 2 turnovers the last 3 or 4 games. So we got to win the turnover battle. Defense has to get some turnovers if we're going to beat Carolina next week. No way Bucs can't win over 10 games with Todd Bowles. Yeah, I mean, again, we'll see how it plays out. I mean, I'll get to that in a minute about Todd Bowles, but Baker's the quarterback and the captain who should hold the offense accountable and get the troops together. He's nowhere to be seen. I'm going to slightly disagree with that. I think he's trying out there, but I think the bigger problems, the defense. They're not getting turnovers. And I'll tell you this right now, yes, Baker has to play better, but so does everybody else. And at the end of the day, it's a team game, no matter what. Special teams has to play better as well. Can't allow a field goal to get blocked. If McLaughlin doesn't get his field goal block, he makes that. It's 20-20. I know that wasn't the score then when it got blocked, but could have went to overtime. Anything could have happened. So those are missed opportunities. Dave Canales, best OC, and Liam Cohn, great OC. Now we're trash. Josh Grizzard. Well, yeah, I mean, but look, teams wanted them. Jacksonville wanted Cohen. Carolina wanted Canales. I don't blame them for taking the jobs. It's their first head coaching job. I would too if I were in their position. But no, I wouldn't do it the way Liam Cohen did it, which was pretty dirty how he did the Bucs, like saying he was all in, and then the next day, all of a sudden, he shows up to Jacksonville, doesn't tell Jason Light in the front office. So, you know, Tampa Bay Rays fan, 2008. It is a nice little 3-year run with Mayfield. They can do better with him. And now it is time to have a conversation. The quarterback position could buy Bridgewater, need a veteran, or draft a quarterback to develop. Well, it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. Now, we know Baker's now in his 30s, and he's got 1 year left out of that 3-year, $100 million contract. He'll be back next year. Now, beyond that, we don't know. Now, yes, I do agree. We need to develop a quarterback. Yeah, I mean Bridgewater, but who would you rather have, Bridgewater or Kyle Trask? I mean, you know, they didn't believe in Trask enough to keep him around, or he'd still be here. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think next year it's going to depend how Baker does. If he plays like he did at the beginning of the year and continues that momentum throughout 2026, they're going to re-sign him. And the Bucs, we all know the history of the Bucs. We have not done well. We haven't gotten a second contract for a Bucs quarterback that we drafted. I mean, you could say, well, what about Ryan Griffin? Does that count? I mean, he's a backup. He was a backup his entire career. So, but I'm talking about like Jameis, Josh Freeman. I mean, it hasn't worked throughout the history of the Bucs, but it's got to work sometime, But it is something we have to think about. We do have to draft a quarterback within the next year or two. I like Baker a lot, but again, if he starts to go downhill, then it would be hard to justify giving him a big contract. Maybe you franchise tag him a year. Who knows? But yeah, we do need to have that conversation. I think that's fair. The defense is fixable heading to the offseason, inside linebacker, defensive tackle, and edge rusher. Yeah. Yeah, and this is where, you got to. I mean, the JPP thing, listen, it was a desperate attempt by Bowles and Light to get him there. It'll just be another Shaq Barrett. He had a nice tip pass, early in today's game. Could have been a first down for the Dolphins. He made a nice play. He had some tackles, but GPP is not your long-term answer. Yeah, you got to draft an inside linebacker. Levante is going to be. He may retire. We don't know. We don't know how much time he has left. And right now, he just doesn't look like the same player. He's trying, but he's just not that guy that he was 4 or 5 years ago. I hate to say it, but and an edge rusher. Yeah, I mean, we're trying. We got to keep Cansey healthy. If he can't stay healthy, then yeah, we're gonna have to probably go back to the drawing board. People say, well, White should have drafted a defensive end. He should have done. He has, but they just haven't panned out. And Cansey, if he can't stay healthy either, that's the bad part about it. So, yeah, I agree we should, but and I'll throw in a tight end too. I think we need to draft a tight end. Again, I like Otten, but he's getting kind of stale lately. Haven't seen a lot of improvement out of him. Jalen McMillan, more great catch, looked better than Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Emeka Buka. Yeah, what happened to Emeka today? What the hell happened to him? He just disappeared, and Broussard didn't get him involved until the second half. He had a few catches then, but he just did not um, wasn't involved in the offense. That's on Josh Broussard. Dennis has his moments, but he is an island by himself due to Levante is old, slow, and isn't the guy he used to be. He has gotten a pass. He has been worse than Dennis. Yeah, yeah, I agree. But again, Servassier, you know, at some point we're going to need more than moments. He's got to, and he'll get time, but we need more than moments. He's got to play better. But again, he's still developing. We'll see how it goes, but we still need to draft an inside linebacker. Just hire Teddy Bridgewater head coach. No, it's not. Evan, even with Cohen, the offense would have been the same now. Josh Broussard is using the same Cohen playbook and terminology. Teams see the scouting report on Baker in that system. He's being exposed. Yeah. That's partially true, but I also think two things can be true at once. Also, the offensive line hasn't been healthy all year. It's made Baker have to do more. You're saying, well, they're using the same offense now, same playbook and terminology, but last year Baker was lighting it up. So part of it's Baker. He's made some bad throws. I'm not gonna lie. Being honest with you, he deserves some blame, but also, not being 100% and having the offensive line being switched around, all their missing different parts coming in. That hasn't helped Baker in the offense either. So, and Grizzard's new at this. Listen, he was a quarterback coach last year. But Liam Cohen's been an offensive coordinator before, so he's had experience there. So while Baker struggled, but again, it's a lot of other things as well. Corey, at least Mike Glennon and Ryan Fitzmagic look better than Josh Freeman and Josh McCown, Jameis Winston, but Mike Glennon did make great play, young arm. Yeah. Let's not go back to those days. Tight end position on the open market is then, that's why I think we need to draft a tight end. But we got to address that position. And I thought David Walker position outside linebacker, he would be back next season away, go after Max Crosby, trade target. Yeah. I mean, if the Bucs want to get bold, I wouldn't be against it. Now that would involve Jason Light having to trade some draft picks, which we know that throughout his illustrious career as the GM, Jason Light does not really make trades. He doesn't give up draft picks. That's what it would take to get somebody like Max. I'd love to have somebody like Max Crosby on the team. I live here in Vegas. He's the only bright spot for the Raiders. But a lot has to go into that. One, you're picking up his salary. Number two, Max has been on record saying he does not want to leave the Raiders. He loves being a Raider. I don't know why. I mean, the team's not going to go anywhere with him. Anyway, it's the Raiders. I think he should go to a contending team. And number three, it's going to take two to tango. It's going to take, both Jason Light and the GM that's in Vegas now used to be with Jason Light and John Spytek. They're going to have to come up with a deal. And if I'm Spytek, I mean, you're going to want a first rounder for, Max Crosby. Question is, would Jason Light do that? I don't know. I just don't think he would. Just based on Jason Light's history, he values those draft picks. So, and I don't see it, but who knows? Maybe that's what it's going to take. When the Bucs address the defense, if they look at quarterback, they are in the Robinson, Morton, Klubnik, Aller, Mateer range. Yeah. I don't know if I'd do it this year though. I would get a veteran next year, and then I would draft a quarterback in 2027 because the draft class there supposedly is going to be even better than this one. So if I'm the Bucs, that's what I would do. But we'll see. Tampa Bay Rays fan. Diaby is not a Batman. He's more like a shitty Hanatu type pass rusher. Yeah, I agree with that. That's a good comparison. Um, Cheaty was pretty good for what he did for the Bucs in the late '90s. Yeah, that's a good comparison. The last trade Light made for a pass rusher was in 2018, getting JPP for a third round pick. Yeah, and that's the thing too. Tampa Bay Rays fan, he got a third round pick out of that, and that was on the Giants. That was dumb on their part. They could have wanted a second rounder for maybe even a first rounder, but Light got him for a third rounder. Again, that's the thing. Jason Light values his draft picks. So if he only had to give up a third rounder for in his prime Jason Pierre-Paul, that was a steal. That was a steal of a pick. Jason's very careful on how he makes moves, when he makes moves, if he makes moves. He's always very careful with not trying to give up too much. I don't mind the Bucs looking at Brian Burns. Yeah, I could see that too. But again, I just think with the Giants, I think they're going to try and build around him. They paid him a lot of money. I don't think they're going to do that. I think, if anything, they could give up somebody like a Kayvon Thibodeau, which I wouldn't want, but before they would give up on a Brian Burns. Oh, all right, guys. Well, I got to hit the shower in a few minutes. I got to get back to work tomorrow after being off for 4 days. I just wanted to come on here tonight just to let you know my thoughts on the Bucs, not just this game, but this past few games. Hopefully, we can see some resemblance of a good team next week against Carolina. Now, we don't know when that game's going to be because, it's week 7 or week 18. I'm assuming that the Bucs Panthers game is going to be on a Saturday or Sunday prime time. I would bet more on Saturday because the Ravens won Saturday night. The Steelers lost today to the Browns, which I had a feeling that was going to happen. So we're going to get a winner take all for the AFC North. And I like Baltimore. I think they're going to beat the Steelers next week. And I would love to see that because we can finally get rid of Aaron Rodgers. And, well, they're not going to get rid of Tomlin because he went over 500 again. So that'll probably earn him a new 3 or 4 year contract with the Steelers. So, but it looks like we might get the Saturday night game, perhaps, because it's going to be for a playoff spot. But then again, if the Falcons win on Sunday or tomorrow night, Monday night, then it would be a tough spot because they want those games to be on at the same time. Falcons, Saints, Bucs, Panthers. So that way it'll keep all teams motivated to win, try and win. A competitive advantage. So depends on what the Falcons do tomorrow night. I think they'll lose to the Rams. That's my opinion, but who knows? Who knows? I mean, this is the same Falcons team that beat the Bills earlier in the season. So who knows? It's the NFL. It's why you don't play the game on paper, play it on the field. Giants are a bigger mess. Burns looks frustrated in New York. Yeah, we'll see, but I think the Giants would ask for a lot, and I don't think Light would do that. That's just my opinion. I like Jason Light, but I just don't think he's going to go up a first round pick or a second round because I think that's what the Giants would try and ask for. Bucs Panthers 1 o'clock Sunday already came out. I don't know yet. We'll see. Rivers and Rogers need to retire. I absolutely agree with you. All right, everybody. I'm going to take off. Got one from Marty. Let me read his. Thanks, Marty, for tuning in. Looks like the Buccaneers may have 70 million cap space this offseason. Yeah, they could, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. Again, it's for all the marbles next week between the Bucs and the Panthers. Yeah, not sure if I'm excited or nervous about this. No, thank you to Joe Flacco. He needs to retire as well. So, everybody, with that being said, I am going to take off, guys. Thank you for tuning in, Marty, Corey, Tampa Bay Rays fan, Blackie. Appreciate you guys commenting, and I will see you next time right here on. Well, this wasn't a have added episode, but I'll try and do another show this week. I'll let you guys know. So everybody, take care. Have a great rest of the year. I will see you guys later.